Imagine a nation that actually knows Allah, but still bows down before something else. And that thing is not an ordinary idol. It is a symbol of power, money, and control. Surah As-Safat. In it, Allah tells us the story of Prophet Elias, peace be upon him. He was sent to a nation that was obsessed with one name, Baal. And Prophet Elias, peace be upon him, asked just one question, a question that still shakes the heart today. Do you call upon and worship Baal and leave the best of creators, meaning Allah? But wait, the story of Baal feels as old as it is modern today. According to Ibn Kathir, Baal was not originally an idol. At first it was a title, master, owner, chief. In ancient languages, clever people later turned it into a god. Stories made it their greatest deity. And by the time of Prophet Elias, peace be upon him, King Ahab and his wife Jezebel had made the worship of Baal the official religion of the kingdom. They had 450 leaders of Baal. They were full-time and were paid by the government, and they also ate at the king's table. These were not ordinary people. They were the famous people of that time. They told society what to think, who to follow, who to ask, and what sacrifices to give. And what did Baal promise? Rain, crops, fertility, wealth, success, everything in this world, knowledge and everything else. But now the story becomes dark, very dark. People did not worship Baal because they were foolish. They worshipped him because they were afraid of drought, hunger, loss, and losing control over their lives. And this fear made the worship of Baal dangerous. In the worship of Baal, sacrifices were made. In some reports, not only animals, but even children. People would burn their children inside large metal idols. Drums were beaten loudly so that the screams of the children could not be heard. This was called passing through the fire. At first, only powerful people did this, and then it became a trend. Then it became normal. Then the environment became such that it felt necessary. This was a very old time when the children of Israel, even after the guidance of their prophets, would again and again slip into the shine of the world and the desires of the self. The message of Tawheed was with them. They also had the knowledge of the Torah. But when the heart becomes weak, a person even changes the truth according to his own benefit. During that time, when some tribes of the children of Israel spread from Palestine and its surrounding areas toward the lands of Sham and Syria, the color of their lives slowly began to change. New lands, new people, new customs, and the most dangerous thing, the influence of idol worship from the older nations. From here, the fitna of Baal begins. Baal was originally a common word in Semitic and Hebrew languages. It meant master, owner, chief, lord, meaning someone who provides. In Arabic too, this word was sometimes used for a husband. But when a nation leaves Allah and begins to hope for provision, rain, power, and blessings from someone else, then a word that only meant master slowly becomes a god. Baal also became not just a name, but a whole idea. People began to think that the system of their lives was not in the hands of Allah, but in the hands of some other power. And from here, the roots of shirk became stronger. Then this idea was given a shape, the shape of an idol. In the region of Syria, around Baalbek, when a tribe of the children of Israel came and settled there, a harsh and cruel ruler came over them. This ruler only cared about his kingdom, and a kingdom continues only when people live in fear and when their heads remain bowed. But if heads bow only because of the sword, one day it turns into rebellion. But if heads bow because of belief, the path of rebellion closes. The ruler understood this. So, to strengthen his rule, he created a religious system where people would accept Baal as their lord instead of Allah, and see the king as the guardian and representative of Baal. In this way, idol worship was no longer just worship. It became a system of power. This is how Baal began, First a word, then an idea, then an idol, then a tradition, and finally, a system. And when it becomes a system, not only ordinary people, but even big priests and chiefs become part of it. Temples and places of sacrifice began to be built for Baal. People bowed in front of it, prostrated, and presented offerings. Some came for their crops, some for their wealth, some for their children, and some for their honor. Everyone had their own problem, and every problem was taken to the door of Baal. Some people bowed because of fear, and some because of hope. Their belief became that if rain came, it came with the pleasure of Baal. If crops grew, it grew by the command of Baal. And if provision increased, it increased because Baal was pleased. In this way, Allah was made into a distant god, and Baal was considered the master of everyday life. The worship of Baal was not simply bowing in front of an idol, it was a whole system, a culture. In the environment of ancient Sham or Canaan, Baal was often considered the god of storms and rain, and the source of fertility. Because of this, the worship of Baal mostly revolved around things that give life to the earth. The worship of Baal usually took place in temples and high places, meaning elevated locations near mountains or outside cities. These were places where a temple would be built. People would go there and present offerings in the name of Baal. Animal sacrifices, grain, oil, honey, or things like wine were offered. In traditions and in the remains of ancient nations, these kinds of offerings are often mentioned. Incense was burned, and the rising smoke was believed to please Baal. The role of the priests was also very large. They performed rituals, led prayers, and made people feel that the system of Baal was working. If Baal became pleased, rain would come. If he became angry, famine would come. The Quran does not mention Baal indirectly. The name Baal comes directly in Surah As-Safat, in the story of the people of Prophet Elias, peace be upon him. Allah tells that Elias, peace be upon him, was sent to people who worshipped Baal, even though they knew Allah. Elias, peace be upon him, invited them in the form of a question that touches the root of religion. Do you call upon Baal and leave the best creator? Allah, who is your Lord and the Lord of your earlier forefathers. In the modern era, some viral claims say that elites still use Baal for power, and the Epstein files are shown as proof. Some people say that in the latest releases, many pages appeared, and in something like a fax-style wire transfer document, the words Baal.name were seen written before Wachovia Bank, and this was called strange. In the same way, some claims connect Baal with black magic practices and say that elites still perform black magic rituals today. Some people also say that in the Bible and the Quran, the Israelites were mixed with Baal, meaning they believed in Allah but also followed Baal. This mention has appeared in history. The wheel of time moves into the modern era, and in 2026, a large batch of the Epstein files comes into the public domain. Some reports mention that in 2017 email records, there was a reference to the shipment of 3 framed pieces of the kiswa of the Kaaba, meaning the black cloth that covers the Kaaba. Some outlets reported this as secret cloth pieces connected to the Epstein angle, and some also mentioned UAE-linked intermediaries. Up to this point, the matter falls into the category of documented mentions, meaning that such references appeared in emails. But because the pieces of the kiswa were spiritually significant and had passed through the touch of millions of Muslims, it began to look suspicious. From here, some people made a direct leap and said that if such a thing is secret and reached the wrong person, then it must be used for black magic rituals. This is exactly where the line is crossed, where evidence ends and assumptions begin. A sacred thing going into the hands of an unworthy or wrong person can indeed feel very disturbing and ugly. But this alone does not prove that any magic or black magic ritual actually happened. In some Israeli traditions, this topic of magic and occult ideas is also connected with the name of Prophet Suleiman, peace be upon him. In Islamic traditions, the position of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, is very clear. Allah gave him special authority by his permission over the jinn, the wind, and certain means. But all of this was by the command of Allah and with justice, not with magic. The Quran clearly states that the accusation of magic against Sulaiman, peace be upon him, is false. Magic is connected to the teachings of devils. The central point of Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 102, explains this. Some traditions also mention that after the time of Sulaiman, peace be upon him, devils hid books of forbidden magic, and later people wrongly attributed them to Sulaiman, peace be upon him. This narrative appears in Islamic commentary and traditions as a warning-style explanation. Its purpose is to show that throughout history, people sometimes turn the truth upside down and use the name of a prophet to make their false knowledge appear legitimate. Then the story reaches another ancient, mysterious, and foggy place, Babylon. A city where knowledge existed, noise existed, and the winds of trials also existed. From here, a test related to magic begins. Then a strong and very clear aspect of the Quran appears, Harut and Marut. Allah sent two angels to Babylon as a test, but this test was not without warning. From the very beginning, it came with a clear warning. Everyone who came to them was first stopped and warned, as if someone stood at the door and said, "Listen, the thing you have come to learn is not a game. We are only a test. If you follow this path, your heart can fall, and a person can come close to disbelief. But even then, look at the nature of some people. Even where there is a warning, they still search for power. They do not want guidance, they want shortcuts. They do not want the path of prayer to Allah, they want the path of control. And when the goal of a person becomes control, he can even turn knowledge into oppression. Some people misuse these things to break homes, destroy relationships, and create hatred and separation between husband and wife. In this way, something that was explained with a warning became a tool of the human ego. During the time of Nebuchadnezzar, when the Jews were captured and taken to Babylon, they came to a place where mysterious and magic-related ideas and symbols already existed. According to some traditions, living in that environment affected some people, and instead of understanding religion as clear guidance, they began to understand it through hidden knowledge, secret symbols, and special names. Later, similar esoteric ideas were collected by some people in the form of Kabbalah, where divine names, symbols, and invocations are discussed. According to Islam, the spiritual path opens through prayer, worship, the Quran, and the Sunnah, not through symbols, secret formulas, or extracting power from hidden practices. Because of this, such practices are considered forbidden in Islam and close to shirk.